Menglong, a video that kept for decades inside the USB that he swallowed. The world thought they had already unearthed every truth about Menglong's death, the conspiracies, the confessions, the court trials, the leaked footage, the shocking testimonies. But nothing, not even the most wild-eyed speculations, could have prepared humanity for the latest revelation. A video, hidden for decades, buried not in vaults, not in archives, but inside Menglong's very body. A USB drive, swallowed in desperation, concealed beneath layers of flesh, bone, and tragedy, now recovered, now exposed, now ready to shatter everything we thought we knew. The horrifying discovery. When Menglong's autopsy reports were first whispered into the ears of insiders, they were dismissed as rumors too grotesque to be true. A USB? Inside him?
Impossible, skeptics sneered.
Yet the truth clawed its way into daylight when doctors re-examined his remains, prompted by his mother's unrelenting cries for justice. Her trembling voice had shaken the room. "You all buried my son's truth with him. Look again. Search deeper. He left us a message. I feel it in my bones." And so they searched. What they found made even the most seasoned forensic experts collapse into their chairs, pale and speechless. Nestled within his stomach lining, encased by a hardened shell formed by his body's desperate attempt to protect itself, was a small, corroded USB drive. For years, it had lain dormant, preserved in silence. Now, in a sterile room where the air itself seemed to tremble, it was plugged into a computer. What emerged sent the room into chaos. The first images. The screen flickered. A black background, grainy, almost suffocating in its clarity. Then Menglong's face. Alive. Breathing. Eyes swollen with fear, lips cracked from exhaustion. His voice, hoarse but unyielding, broke the silence. "If you are watching this, then I am already gone. They want to bury me, but I will not let them bury the truth." Gasps filled the room. Officials covered their mouths. His mother screamed, falling to her knees, clawing at the air as though she could pull her son back through the pixels. The video continued. "They think they own me, my name, my body, my soul. But they will never own my voice.
I've seen what no one should see.
I've lived what no one should endure. And I refuse to let them erase me." Names that shook the earth. In the next breath, he began listing names. Names of men and women so powerful, their mere mention could silence entire networks. Politicians, executives, managers, and yes, even actors. His trembling hand lifted a crumpled paper where the names were scribbled, smudged with sweat and blood. Each name was a dagger. Each syllable cracked the spine of silence that had held his story hostage for too long. Some in the room screamed for the recording to be stopped, but others fought back. "No," one investigator shouted, "let the world hear him." And so it played on. The confession of abuse. Menglong's eyes shifted downward, his voice breaking.
"They tortured me.
Not once. Not twice. Over and over again. They wanted my compliance, my silence. They wanted to use me until nothing was left but a shadow of myself. I swallowed this USB because it was the only way to keep it safe. If they had found it, they would have destroyed it and me along with it." Tears streamed down his face. He leaned closer to the camera, whispering words that would haunt generations. "Please don't let them win. Don't let my life be for nothing. Protect my mother. Protect those who will rise after me. Remember me." The room watching the video dissolved into chaos. Some fainted. Some screamed. Some knelt on the floor, weeping uncontrollably. Even the hardest officers who had endured decades of crime scenes were broken by the sight of a man recording his last stand against giants. The world reacts. When the existence of the USB was confirmed, news spread like wildfire. Cities erupted in protests overnight. Millions poured into the streets, carrying candles, chanting his name, vowing to finish what he had started. On giant screens in Beijing, Shanghai, Seoul, Tokyo, Paris, New York, the video played in loops. Crowds stood in silence as his trembling face stared down at them from towering billboards. Some fainted from grief. Others fell to their knees, kissing the ground, whispering promises to him. Social media collapsed under the weight of hashtags. Hashtag Justice for Menglong. Hashtag USB of Truth. Hashtag They Tried to Bury Him. The Mother's Cry. At a press conference, Yumenglong's mother held the USB in her hand like a holy relic. Tears carved rivers down her face as she shouted into the microphones. This is my son's blood, his truth, his voice. You silenced him, but you will never silence this. The crowd of reporters broke into tears. Some dropped their equipment. Some simply sobbed loudly, unable to contain themselves. Her words sparked movements across nations. Activists, students, and even celebrities who once remained silent out of fear now rose up, declaring allegiance to Yumenglong's cause. The dark side of power. But the revelations came with consequences. The names listed in Yumenglong's video scrambled to suppress the damage. Lawyers threatened networks, governments tried to block broadcasts, and strange accidents began claiming the lives of whistleblowers. One journalist, moments before going on air with additional details, collapsed on live TV. Authorities called it a heart attack. Fans called it revenge. Another activist's home burned in the night, leaving nothing but ashes and suspicion. Fear spread, but so did fury. The more they tried to bury the truth, the louder the people screamed. The second file. What shocked investigators further was that the USB did not contain just one video. It held dozens. Each file revealed fragments of Yumenglong's secret battle. Clips of him hiding in dimly lit rooms, whispering into the lens. Shots of bruises along his arms, scars on his back, tear stains on his pillow. Documents scanned in haste, contracts dripping with exploitation, messages threatening him into silence. The most chilling file showed him in near darkness, holding a candle. If I disappear, know this. It was not an accident. Tell my story. Fight for me. Don't let my voice die in vain. The screen then cut to black. A funeral reborn. With the release of the USB, Yumenglong's funeral, once an ocean of grief, was reborn as a rallying cry. His grave became a shrine where thousands knelt daily, leaving not just flowers but flash drives painted in white, symbolizing the one he carried in his stomach. One fan placed a handwritten note. You carried the truth inside you. Now, we carry your fight inside us. The photo of that note went viral, igniting a wave of solidarity movements across the globe. Legacy of a martyr. In the end, Menglong became more than an actor, more than a victim. He became a martyr, a symbol of resistance, a reminder that even the smallest object, a USB, can topple mountains of lies. Governments trembled. Corporations collapsed. Laws were rewritten in his name. And through it all, his mother stood tall, her son's voice echoing through her every breath. They tried to bury him, but they planted a revolution. Conclusion. The video that Menglong swallowed was not just a file. It was a lifeline, a time capsule, a final act of defiance. For decades, it remained hidden inside him, waiting for the moment the world was ready to hear it. Now, the world has heard, and it cannot unhear. What began as whispers in shadowy corners has become a storm across nations. His death is no longer a tragedy. It is a torch, burning through the darkness. The USB was his secret. The truth is our inheritance. And the fight has only just begun. The video that froze the world. The silence in the forensic room after Menglong's face first appeared on the USB video was unbearable. It was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of terror, disbelief, and grief colliding all at once. The crackling sound of the old recording echoed, and every breath seemed to grow heavier, like the air itself was mourning him. The camera on the screen shook slightly, the poor quality unable to conceal the raw emotion in Menglong's eyes. He had clearly recorded this in a rush, in hiding, and with the knowledge that every second could be his last. If you are watching this, he whispered again, his lips trembling, then I am already gone. Don't cry for me. Cry for the truth that was stolen from us. Doctors gasped. A police officer in the room dropped his pen, his hand shaking. Even the hardest investigator, a man who had seen countless murders in his career, muttered under his breath, This is beyond anything I've ever witnessed." The mother's collapse. Yumenglong's mother, who had insisted on the re-examination, sat frozen as the video played. For months, she had begged people to look deeper, to listen to her instincts that her son had left them something. Now, as she heard his trembling voice, her knees buckled. She screamed his name and tried to reach the screen, her hands clawing at the air, her sobs ripping through the sterile walls. "Menglong, my son, you carried this inside you all this time? Why? Why did you suffer like this?" Two officers rushed to catch her before she hit the floor, but her cry had already broken everyone's composure. Even the strongest men in the room had tears streaming down their faces. The first secret revealed. On the video, Menglong pulled out a torn piece of paper. His hands shook as though the weight of the names written upon it was crushing him. He lifted it toward the dim light, enough for the camera to catch glimpses of the words. Some of the names were blurred by smudged ink, but a few were chillingly clear. Names that belonged to powerful figures, people in positions of wealth, fame, and authority. "They think no one will ever believe me," Yumenglong's voice cracked. "But if you are hearing this, please do not let them erase me. This paper holds the names of those who orchestrated my torment. Keep it safe." The camera zoomed in just enough for investigators to freeze frame the video later. One name in particular stood out, a name connected to a billionaire whose influence stretched across the entertainment industry. The room erupted in whispers. Fans react to the leak. As the first few minutes of the video were leaked online, fans across the world fell into chaos. Millions logged in simultaneously to streaming sites where the clip circulated, their hearts breaking as Yumenglong's battered face filled their screens. At outdoor squares, giant screens replayed his words, and the sound of sobbing echoed across cities. In Shanghai, thousands gathered spontaneously with candles, chanting, "Menglong did not die in vain. Menglong did not die in vain." In Seoul, fans tied USB flash drives onto white ribbons, hanging them in public parks as symbols of his hidden truth. In Paris, people lay flowers beneath the Eiffel Tower, holding up signs, "The truth cannot be buried." The world was no longer watching passively. It was rising. Investigators break down. Inside the investigation chamber, the USB video continued. At one moment, Menglong leaned in closer, his face filling the screen, eyes bloodshot from endless nights of pain. "They told me no one would care, that even if I screamed, my voice would never be heard. But I am screaming now, through this. If you are hearing me, promise me this, you will not let them silence my mother. She will be the last voice they can never erase." The lead investigator paused the video at that line. He covered his face with both hands and whispered, "He wasn't just leaving us evidence, he was leaving us his soul." The mother holds the USB. Later that night, a press conference was called. Yumenglong's mother stood before a blinding wall of cameras, clutching the USB in her hand. The world held its breath as she raised it high. Her tears glistened under the lights, but her voice was fierce. "This was in my son. He swallowed his truth because he knew they would kill him for it. They killed him anyway, but they did not kill this. And as long as I breathe, I will make sure his voice shakes the world." Reporters wept openly. Entire news crews forgot their professionalism and joined in the applause that erupted after her words. The USB, once hidden in shadows, had become the torch of a revolution. Dark forces move. But not everyone celebrated. Behind closed doors, those named in the video scrambled in panic. Powerful figures held emergency meetings, their voices sharp and furious. "This cannot spread further. Shut it down. Bury it again." But the people had already seen enough. Every attempt to silence the video only made it spread faster. Blackouts in certain regions led to underground sharing networks, where fans distributed the file in secret. The harder they tried to suppress it, the more unstoppable it became. Fans at his grave. Meanwhile, at Yumenglong's grave, thousands of fans gathered in silence. This time, they did not just bring flowers. They brought small USB drives, painted white, and placed them one by one on the soil above his resting place. A girl no older than 15 whispered as she set hers down. "You carried one inside you for us. Now we carry them for you." Photos of the symbolic act spread globally, turning into a movement. Soon, entire streets were decorated with USB-shaped lanterns, glowing in the night. The video's last words. The most haunting part of the video was the ending. After naming names, after confessing his suffering, Menglong grew quiet. His breathing was shallow. He looked straight into the lens and whispered words that silenced everyone who watched. "They thought they buried me. But seeds grow in the dark. And I am not afraid anymore." With that, the screen faded to black. The room erupted, not in sound, but in a silence so heavy it suffocated everyone within it. For a full minute, no one could move. No one could speak. It was as if his ghost had reached out through the screen and gripped every heart watching. Conclusion. The discovery of the swallowed USB and the first video inside it was not just evidence, it was prophecy. Menglong knew his life would be taken, but he refused to vanish without leaving a weapon behind. That weapon, small enough to fit inside him, large enough to shake the world, had now ignited a fire too fierce to extinguish. What began as a shocking death had now become a revolution. And the first chapter of that revolution was written not on paper, not on walls, but inside the broken body of a man who refused to be silenced. Yumenglong's video was not just his last words. It was his resurrection.